Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The fraternity of Simeo Rexham Penang takes pleasure in welcoming the participants of today's webinar entitled Enhancing STEM Education Through STEM Makerspace. I'm Thiru, the MC for today. We are indeed honored to have three distinguished panelists for today's webinar. We have Dr. Ponpan Waitayangkun from Bangkok, Dr. Susan Blackley from Perth, and Mr. Ramesh Pillai from Kuala Lumpur. We are pleased to welcome the distinguished panelists. The 2-hour webinar session today will be moderated by Dr. Loh Su Lin from Simeo Rexham Penang. Well, to get the ball rolling, I will call upon Dr. Shah Jahan Asanarkuti, the Center Director of Simeo Rexham Penang, for the welcome address. Dr. Shah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. And a very pleasant afternoon to all, especially to our panelists today. Dr. Ponpan Waitayangkun, Center Director of Simeo STEM at Thailand, Associate Professor Dr. Susan Blackley from Curtin University, Australia, and Mr. Ramesh Pillai, Founder and Director of STEM for All, Makerspace, Malaysia. And not forgetting our team here in Wrexham, Mr. Amran Bimhadi, Deputy Director of Administration Division, Dr. Wanur Azmin binti Muhammad Sabri, Deputy Director Training Program, and Dr. Mariam binti Osman, Deputy Director Research and Development. Dr. Thiru Selvam Kandaya, our coordinator of this program, and Dr. Loh Su Lin, moderator of this program today. And to all specialists and staff of Simeo Rexham, and to all the participants online. Ladies and gentlemen, a virtual hello and a warm welcome to all of you. The Center takes in pleasure in thanking all the panelists and the entire team of Simeo Rexham for organizing this webinar entitled Enhancing STEM Education through STEM Makerspace. We also like to put on record our sincere thanks and appreciation to Simeo Secretariat for promoting this program on our behalf. With the continuous support from you, implementation of our programs via online during the pandemic era is still possible. Ladies and gentlemen, a STEM Makerspace is an informal physical space in an educational or community settings. It is a place where people immerse themselves in creative thinking with the application of STEM knowledge and skills. Makerspace holds an incredible potential in fostering essential skills needed by the students to prepare themselves for future workforce. Using Makerspace as an approach in an integrated STEM education provides the opportunity for students to apply their knowledge in engaging projects. I believe that Makerspace can be one of the approaches for the acquisition and demonstration of 21st century learning skills, problem solving, critical and creative thinking, together with collaboration and communication. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we hope that our webinar today will be beneficial to you. Stay tuned throughout the webinar to hear more on STEM education in Southeast Asia. We have some great panelists today with us today. Hope we will get a lot of knowledge sharing in this session. Thank you. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Well, thank you, Dr. Shah. Ladies and gentlemen, today's webinar on enhancing STEM education through STEM, Makerspace is open to global participants without any charge. You may gain access to the webinar through WebEx or YouTube using the given links. However, there is limitation to the number of participants who can actually access using WebEx. Those who have difficulty in accessing this webinar through WebEx may use Simio Rexum YouTube channel instead. Now, this will be an interactive session, and the participants may pose questions and queries to the panelists verbally or through the chat box in WebEx and the comment section in YouTube. Your queries will be addressed accordingly. Before we get going, an important note, e-certificates will be awarded to all participants, WebEx and YouTube. But to qualify for the e-certificates, you'll have to submit a completed assessment form in the link that will be displayed at the end of this webinar session. Okay, well, I'm sure the participants are now eager to meet the panel. So over to you, Dr. Loh.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thiru. Good afternoon to everyone. I'm glad to have all of you with me in this webinar, either through the WebEx or those who are watching with us through our YouTube channel. For the first session, we are very honored to have Dr. Ponpan Waitayangkun, who is the director of the Simio Regional Center for STEM Education based in Bangkok. She has worked with the National Institute for the Promotion of Teaching, Science and Technology for the past 40 years. She has involved in science, mathematics, and technology education for all school grade levels, targeting students, teachers, parents, and also academics. She also has worked to integrate STEM education in the curriculum in the school to enhance the learners' potential for future workforce. As for the teachers, she encouraged the use of STEM education as an approach in the teaching and learning process. This afternoon, Dr. Ponpan will share about the scenario of STEM education in Southeast Asia, in particular the role and initiatives of Simio STEM Ed, a research and capacity building center of excellence for STEM education, which advocates and supports evidence-based policy and practice both in Thailand and within Southeast Asia region. Please welcome Dr. Ponpan. Sawadika, Dr. Ponpan, over to you. Dr. Ponpan, over to you, Dr. Ponpan.
Please request to unmute.
Dr. Ponpan, are you with us? Can you hear us from here? Over from Thailand? Can you unmute your mic to join us? I think there might be some connectivity problem right now. Maybe we can go to our second speaker first. Dr. Susan, would you like to share with us first?
Oh,
Dr. Susan, would you like to share with us first?
yes, I can do that.
Okay, but before that, let me introduce Dr. Susan to all of us here. Dr. Susan is is a faculty member of the School of Education in Curtin University. Dr. Susan research area includes digital pedagogies, teacher identity, digital portfolios, and STEM education. And Dr. Susan also is an active member of the Australia's STEM community, and she has maintained an active program in collaborative education research that gained publication in highly acclaimed journals. Actually, I came to know about STEM Makerspace when I attended one of her workshops in University Malaysia Sabah, Kota Kinabalu, 4 years ago. It was an inspiring and eye-opener session for me. So for this session, Dr. Susan will share with us about integrated STEM education in the school context before explaining what is a makerspace approach. She will also show us some examples of the makerspace approach in the school context with the opportunities and challenges involved. With that, I ask you to give your full attention to Dr. Susan. Dr. Susan, please.
Gotta love this, don't you? Can you see my PowerPoint?
It's coming out.
I can't see it.
Maybe you can just start share it again. Oh, okay.
So this is different to before now, isn't it? Yep. Oh, hang on. Okay. Can you see that? So Lynn, can you see that?
Not at the moment. We have Dr. Ponpan with us now. Dr. Ponpan, just now we tried to get in touch with you. So I'm just now I have introduced Dr. Ponpan but we cannot get to you. So I have asked Dr. Susan to come in. So would you like to share now, Dr. Ponpan, or Dr. Susan? Would you like to share your slides first? Dr. Susan, can you share your slides now?
I'm trying to. Okay.
Oh, yes, we can
Right.
see. Yes.
You can see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Right, we're in action.
Yes. Yeah. So sorry for that.
That's all right. Well, thank you everyone for inviting me and having me share with you in today's webinar. From my little arrows. That's my email address at Curtin if you would like to contact me. And it is the 5th of May. So when I look at STEM makerspaces in schools, I realise that there are a lot of challenges in implementing what we call integrated STEM. Firstly, there's the relevance of that integration of those 4 discipline areas, when mainly our curriculum has those disciplines as separate subjects. We have an overcrowded curriculum. Teachers are expected to cover a lot of content and prepare their students for rigorous assessment regimes, including international assessments of mathematics, science and technology. The silo approach to the subjects and assessment that I mentioned makes it difficult for our students to understand the links and the connections between those components that make up STEM education. Whereas in the real world and in the world of work and research, those who work in STEM disciplines naturally integrate and use from all of the disciplines as they complete their tasks. There are issues, particularly for primary school teachers, with the E for engineering in the STEM acronym. In many countries, there is no curriculum in primary school that deals with engineering, and nor are our pre-service teachers trained to teach engineering. And finally, integrated STEM, by virtue of its definition, requires a time commitment and expertise and experience for the educators and access to resources. Now, despite those challenges, I personally still think that it is a very important approach to take, particularly in primary school, before children have made decisions about whether they will continue with their STEM subjects later on. So what is I-STEM? So the I there is standing for integrated. The I is for integrated, and my definition, and those used by others as well, is that it brings together two or more of the STEM disciplines, and students use their knowledge, their content knowledge and their skills in those domains to actually solve problems or to create artefacts. So there's a reason for bringing the components of the STEM disciplines together. When I talk about Makerspace in demo schools, I'm actually talking about something a little bit different. The traditional Makerspace is a recreational activity, and it grew out of groups of like-minded people called makers, and they had their own communities within which they worked. They chose their materials from what was available to them. They thought about and produced individual and often unique artefacts. They were not mentored or directed. They might evaluate their final product, and they might be cognizant of underlying STEM concepts or other concepts, but that is not a focus of the activity. In the research that I and my colleagues have done, this traditional makerspace approach is something that is not suited to the confines of school contexts. So rather, we're talking about a makerspace approach. This is where it is a targeted learning activity. The makers, which are the students, are organised into predetermined communities. They are provided with a base level kit of materials. They're shown a completed base level and operational, if that's appropriate, artefact, and are challenged to construct something similar. However, they are mentored and they are not directly instructed by the teacher. They are scaffolded to actually reflect on and evaluate their artefact, which is something that is very similar to the engineering process. And the makers are acutely aware of the related underlying science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or other concepts in line with their particular curriculum documents. So you can see we've moved away from a random creative arts approach to something that is more palatable for teachers to spend time in their classroom. Why do we use the Makerspace approach? It actually serves two purposes. It gives our students a focus on a specific goal. They know what the end is at the beginning, and yet it allows for them to be creative. It fosters those 21st century learning skills and allows students to demonstrate them in this kind of context. And in particular, the ones that I'm referring to are communication, collaboration, problem solving and reasoning. And this is also connected to the curriculum. It does develop the engineering design principles. This may be done informally or made explicit by the teacher. And very importantly, every student is involved. And overall, it is a student-centred approach rather than a teacher-directed approach. The key mantra, if you like, is learning by doing. Colleagues and I developed a 3-phase model to engage students and teachers in integrated STEM Makerspace approach. The first phase is exposure. The second, engagement and experimentation. And the third, evaluation and extension. So for the exposure phase, that's when the students are shown and have a chance to see operating a Makerspace artefact. On the left here is the completed, what we call a Wigglebot. And the Wigglebot has made its appearance all throughout Western Australia, Malaysia, Indonesia and India, and is still going strong. It's one of our favourite artefacts to make. So the children can see what the component parts are, where they're placed, and the movement of this particular artefact. You can see the photo of the children here from Jakarta, that they are in small groups and they actually have got some pre-service teachers here assisting. The next stage is the engagement and experimentation. So every child in the class is given a base kit, as you see on the right-hand side. So they're all the separate components necessary, in this case, to make a Wigglebot. And over on the left-hand side, here are students engaging in a different Makerspace project, which involves a circuit with a light, and they make a little bedside lamp. Again, they're given the components, as you can see, and they're shown here with the brown cup, a completed artefact, and they need to actually experiment to get that light to work and to work out how to include a switch into the circuit. And the third stage is evaluation and extension. So here's a completed Wigglebot, and part of the evaluation is actually in the drawing that is made by the Wigglebot. So if the 3 legs at the base of the Wigglebot are at the vertices of an equilateral triangle, then the pattern that is created is a series of concentric circles. So that's the quality control. If you get those concentric circles, you know that you have correctly positioned the legs. And you can see here, not a bad job, but could be better. So then we encourage the students by asking questions, how do you think you could change the position of the legs to get those concentric circles? You can also see, here's the battery holder, and this is joined to this little electric motor here. There is no switch provided in this kit, and so the children had to carefully position the motor and the battery holder so that a battery could be removed, which is in effect the off switch. Other extensions can be added to that. You can change the offset of the weight of the peg by using something else on there. The other good thing is that the children, because they're in those collaborative groups and they're actually talking to each other and asking each other questions, they start to notice what other children are doing and in turn try some things out themselves. So here they're all got to the final stage, they've got a working Wigglebot and they're having a look to see what the patterns are that are being made, and they're having those conversations and they're making some reasoning judgments there, or solving problems if the legs break, if the motor falls off, and so on. So they're making those evaluations and modifications. There is the reasoning and reflection. So they're encouraged to critique their artefact in terms of its functionality, and we do this by questioning. So we ask them, Was it balanced or did it keep falling over? What pattern did the Wigglebot create on the paper? Were they concentric circles or some more abstract patterns, and why do you think that was the case? Was the motor attached firmly enough? Did the wires obstruct the rotation of the peg? And it was only when we got into this phase and they could see their Wigglebot actually working that they were encouraged by their mentor, in this case the pre-service teacher, to make modifications or to change. The good thing about this Makerspace approach is that they were encouraged to test their component parts as they went. On the left-hand side here, you can see one child creating the circuit with the power source and testing to see if that would illuminate the globe. It also draws on their curriculum knowledge. So this particular artefact that we work with here was Year 5 and Year 6 children in Australia, and this was just after they'd covered the curriculum on simple circuits. So you can see this is a very different approach to teaching that content rather than just drawing circuit diagrams. They also work collaboratively. Now, some of these were very tricky to do, to put those wires together and get it to stay together. And you can see here the children are actually helping each other. So it's a collective approach that if we work together and share, that we can get the artefact completed and working. Other projects that we've used, apart from the Wigglebot, was a catapult, a propeller car, and a lotus flower. So all of these had some kind of hands-on here, learning by doing. This is the catapult, and you can see that the resources are very simple and not expensive. So we've got paddle pop sticks here, or craft sticks, elastic bands, and a little top from a plastic carton, which is glued onto there. And by virtue of the construction, they can pull the cup section back, put an object on it, and let it fly. And then the associated content with that is how high did it go? Did your projectile go? How do you know? How far did it go? How could you make it go further? The propeller car was quite a challenge. Again, this is not an electric motor in this one. This is driven by an elastic band being tightened. So we've got the potential energy of that, which converts to kinetic energy, which makes the blade turn around, which makes our lightweight vehicle move. Had a lot of fun with that one. And the lotus flower was the one that you saw with the electric circuit to make the light bulb glow. We have a number of other projects that are all fairly simple to do and to make on our website. We called ourselves staff members in the School of Education in STEM education, and the pre-service teachers that we mentored as well are STEMinists. And we've got T-shirts to prove it. And part of our funded project is this website that we created using Weebly as our tool. This is open to anybody, and please feel free to pop on the website and have a look. We have the instructions of how to make various artefacts. We've got a run sheet that helps the teachers work through the steps with the children. We've got lists of materials and where you can buy them from. And I really hope that if you have time and energy that you might like to explore some of these. Now, I would recommend personally that you maybe try one project a term, a school term. It is not the way to teach new content. Rather, it is a platform for children to use the knowledge that you've taught them about content and skills in a very hands-on, concrete way. And that's me. Thank you for listening. And I'm stopping sharing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Susan. We now have a time of question and answer, a short time of question and answer. If participants have any question, you can post in the chat box, or you can turn on your mic to just ask Dr. Susan. There's one question from a participant. Dr. Susan, can we have your slide presentation, a copy of your slide presentation?
Yes, absolutely. Suleen, I'll send to you.
Okay. So for those who want a copy of the presentation, you can contact the Rexam. We will try to send it to you, or we can post it up. I can let you know where you can get it from. Okay, Dr. Susan will send it to me. Okay, do you have any question? Any participants who wants to ask some question to Dr. Susan? Dr. Susan, as you implement this makerspace approach, what are some of the challenges that you face when conducting this kind of activities with the primary school children, yeah? The 10 or 11 years old, right? What are some of the challenges that you have encountered?
Okay. Probably one of the biggest challenges has been that many students are used to very teacher-directed pedagogies, and they're not generally required to do as much thinking and problem solving as they are using the Makerspace approach, because the idea is you show them the artifact and how it works, and you give them the pieces in a bag, and they've got to work out how to make that thing. So that can be quite confronting, and a lot of children have said, please just tell us how to do it. And we said, no, sorry, you need to work that out. But you can talk to the other people at your table and see if you can work it out together, because that's how we actually operate in the real world. So that's a bit of a challenge. Sometimes the lack of persistence on the part of children, we seem to be, or depending what the cultural context is, our Australian students seem to be, look, if I can't get it done in 5 seconds, then I can't do it. And they throw up their hands. So trying to get them to persist, and that if it doesn't work the first time, that's okay. That's how scientists do things. They come back and try something different. Some of the children got very upset that their motor broke off, or the legs fell from underneath it, and they were just about to throw it all in. And we said, no, you can build it better. How could you do that? And yes, have a look at your friends. Yes.
Dr. Susan?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dr. Susan, my name is Shafuddin. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, Dr. Susan, your project is mainly for primary students, or it can go to the secondary students?
It depending on your curriculum and the requirements of your education authority. So in my view, you could use these projects easily up to year 9. Mm-hmm. So the first few years of secondary school, you could still do that, because science generally is the curriculum area, and it's not yet split up into teaching biology, chemistry, physics, that kind of thing. In Australia, our senior secondary have a very strong focus on attainment of university entrance, and we haven't been able to break that mode of thought there. So they're still very much, no, I've got to cover my physics curriculum, I've got to cover that thing, which is truly sad, because I think that some of our students who don't want to do STEM subjects in senior high school, if they had some projects like these to do every now and then, I think that might actually inspire them to stay in there.
So your project is like laying the foundation for them to understand science and understand engineering?
Yes. Right. And that design process, although they're not coming up with the design themselves, they're seeing something created and they have to figure out. So they are doing planning. Which part do I do first? Do I try to get my circuit to work first, or what do I do? And does it matter? Well, you have a try of that and see how it goes.
Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, it's stopping the children for just wanting to have the one right answer, because there are different ways to do things.
Yeah. So like the engineering peoples do. Of course. Thank you.
Exactly. And because the materials are quite cheap and every child actually gets to do it, because I don't know about in your context, but in Australia, when we do group work, there always seems to be one or two children who do all the work and the others are quite happy to say, okay, you go and do that.
Oh, the sleeping partner.
It's the sleeping partner. No, that's right. So if there's an expectation that they all can do it, then I think that's really powerful. And do you know, one little girl said, when she took her Wigglebot home, she said, my dad won't believe that I made this. And if a bit falls off or it breaks on the way home, I know how to fix it. And that was the other thing. They all got to take these things home and they showed their parents and their brothers and sisters, and they were just so proud and couldn't wait. What are we doing next time? and to have that approach in a STEM-related area, I think is worth the effort.
Yeah. Thank you.
Dr. Susan, there are some questions in the chat box. Yeah, this is from Ziham Zawabi Maslan. He asked, during reasoning and reflection stages, if the students give irrelevant response, how are we to handle this wisely?
Yes. So we did have that because in the schools that we went to, we didn't, the children weren't streamed. So we had every ability level present, right? And that's why we encouraged the collaboration between the students as well. Because some of the more clever ones could see that their colleague was struggling and they helped them or they showed them, which is really good. Okay, so for example, one child's Wigglebot kept falling over all the time. And so I said, because he was getting a bit upset, I said, well, why do you think it's falling over? Oh, it's not balanced. Okay, well, what could we do to balance it better? Now, some other children might have said, oh, it's just a rubbish Wigglebot. You know, I can't do it. It just does. And you talk about, okay, it's just balancing there. Look, if I'm on one leg, I'm just balancing and I can fall over easily. If I put my other leg down, I've got a bit more stability. And that's the same thing that you can relate back to there. So no answer is wrong. I mean, if you're going to elicit any answer from them, that's fine. But then just try to prompt or probe them to come back to the curriculum that they've actually learned and relate it back to that. I mean, they can read in a textbook about centre of gravity and stability and what that means, but that means nothing to them until they have to apply it in a hands-on context.
I see it needs a lot of patience from the teacher and also wisdom to explain to the students in a way that they can handle it. Yeah. So we have some more time for a few questions. Yes, one question. What are the principles of applying STEM in the real classroom? Would you like to respond on that, Dr. Susan?
What are the principles?
Yes.
Okay. I guess underlying both the technology part and engineering part is that whole design process. So children can look up content on the internet, but what they can't get there is that experience of having to go through stages. So they're going to visualize, okay, that's what it's going to look like. What have I got? Okay, so how am I going to put it together? What's my plan? for putting it together? And how will I check along the way that it's actually going to work at the end? And if I get it to work, is it working the way it should do? Is it working the same way as that prototype that I saw? And if it's not, what can I do? How can I check that I've got the bits in the right place? So some of those children, when they wired up the motor and the battery holder, they had it so that that peg couldn't spin because it kept hitting into the wires. If the peg doesn't spin, then it doesn't wiggle and it doesn't do the drawing. So my favourite is the what if question. So what if you taped the wire down? What do you think would happen then? Might that solve the problem? Try it. And I guess that's the other important thing. A lot of our children have lost the ability to have a go at something. And it doesn't matter if it doesn't work. Then you try something else. So that experimentation is in integrated Makerspace approach. That's probably one of the underlying features of it. And that's something that you won't get out of teacher-directed textbook-based pedagogy.
We have one more question before the next session. There a similar question. What are the ways of encouraging mistakes during the project? And maybe the related question, what are some of the ways of embracing mistakes in the classroom for inspired learning? Yeah, two very similar questions. What are some ways that we can encourage mistakes during projects and embracing them during the classroom?
Okay. For me, it comes back to modelling. So it's me making something in front of them and, well, that didn't work very well. Okay, well, how could I do it different? Who's got an idea? And actually model that it's okay if it doesn't work or it falls apart. And in fact, I would even set it up that way. If I bring in my wiggle bot, here's one I prepared earlier, and I've made it so that something will go wrong with it, then that's even better. So I'm doing my demonstration. Here's my wiggle bot. It does 2 laps and then falls over. And I say, oh, goodness me. Wow, I wonder what's wrong with this. And even get the children to give some responses to that. So they say that all teachers are actors and your classroom is your stage. And this is probably where you need to give it a go. I mean, it's difficult for the children if they're not used to it, and it's equally difficult for the teacher if you are not used to that way of teaching. But when it works, by golly, it's good.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Susan. Okay. For the rest of the question, we will continue to answer after after the other two speakers. So we will move on to our next session. Okay, we would like to have Dr. Ponpan. Dr. Ponpan, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Dr. Ponpan, sawadika, Dr. Ponpan. Okay, so we are so honored to have Dr. Ponpan with us. She's the Center Director for the Semio STEM at Bangkok, Thailand. So Dr. Ponpan will be sharing with us the scenario of STEM education in Southeast Asia. So please welcome Dr. Ponpan.
Thank you very much. All right, I will begin mine. So first of all, I would like to greet my friends at Wrexham. I worked there several times as the governing board of the CMO, and also Dr. Char, who just come, and particularly Dr. Low, who tried to arrange everything ready for me since yesterday. So I tried to make it right. Okay. So thank you very much for everything, and please excuse for the inconvenience. And first of all, I would like you to share the video of the center so the audience would know us, right? We just be born. So it's good to have them view of the video.
I'm Dr. Tirakia Tiran Setasin. Formerly, I was Senator of the Upper House of the Thai Parliament, Minister of Education for Thailand. Simeo STEM education was conceived in March 2018, and I could see that the future of education lies in the development of science and technology in keeping with the changes of the world. STEM, standing for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But in the real world, they have to be used. They have to be applied to problems of the world. SIMEO stands for Southeast Asia Ministers of Education Organizations. So the idea is to work politically, internationally, and collaboratively with other organizations. It is a medium, a platform for things to take place. So if you want to do research, you do research in education. It's like a leadership institute to provide leadership for STEM.
The Center will inform regional policymakers on how to improve STEM education and provide models of professional development and curriculum that can be implemented across the region.
Now, if you look at the world now, the world is changing very rapidly, as you know. And interestingly, if you look at the vacancies of jobs nowadays, the jobs that are usually unfilled nowadays, jobs related to STEM.
Enhancing the quality of the STEM workforce is another key strategic goal of the Center. The Center has identified a new program for the region, Career Academies, which has demonstrated significant impact internationally on student motivation and employability.
Simeo STEM trying to work with and help teachers, educators, students in the region to advance in STEM education. The reason that I wanted to be regional, that we are stronger together if we work with our neighboring countries. Simeo is for ASEAN. By helping other countries and working with more advanced countries, not only in the region, our region as a whole can grow together.
By working in collaboration and creating partnerships, we can strengthen regional school leadership capacity, enhance instructional practices, and cultivate cultures of shared responsibility for student performance in critical thinking and problem-solving skills. And as a consequence, improvements in performance on PISA can be realized. Therefore, CMEO member countries have expressed a common desire to utilize a problem-based learning approach through collaboration on developing STEM learning materials which match regional contexts.
If we care about STEM education in the region, CMEO STEM is a way forward. And then everybody will be a good human being.
All right. We are the youngest center of the CMEO, the 26th one. And may I ask Dr. Low to share my screen, please?
Yes.
Next one, please. Yes. Before we established the center, we had done feasibility study with Ministry of Education representative from regional countries. I think that there may be about 8 or 9 of them, and their concerns about these 3 things that is quite big for them to improve science and mathematics performance of the student. That's the concern of PISA. So we all, more than half of the countries that participate in this study also. The second thing is sustainable development, so that we could move away from resource intensive to a more balanced paradigm of development. And the need for science and technology to escape from the middle income trap through an upgrade of science and technology and improvement of skilled workforce. Please. And we also include sustainable development goals. So CMO Center all have to have this as a supportive instrument to provide support and capacity building for the center's commitments. So every center should include SDG in our plan, in their plan, right? Next one, please. And before moving on, let me share with you the definition of STEM education. Do you have that? Next one, please. Maybe before that. Okay, it could be the right one. So please go back to the previous one, please. Okay, I talk about this. So I think that the definition is just an approach of teaching to apply our SMT to this. So from the issues that they try to voice to us that, okay, once you will establish, please include those into your commitments, into your mission. So our vision is just like a research center and be an excellent center of capacity building, but we need to advocate and support evidence-based policy and practice. We need to encourage this. And with the two goals that could direct our work, that is to develop K-12 learners to graduate with competencies in STEM-related area and build inspiration and aspiration for learners in STEM-related careers and develop their competencies and experience for such that. So the issues that we mentioned suggest our vision, goals, strategies, and projects during 2020 and 2024. And the STEM Center has started operation, officially in November 2019. Next one, please. We will be a regional research center and advocate of the evidence-based literacy. So the goals that we have mentioned to this diagram is quite easy that relate our goals with our initiatives, right? So the two goals of development, the learners and skill workforce will closely related to our initiatives through the building public and partnerships and academia within CMO countries. So we will do these 5 initiatives, right? Next one, please. So you can see the program areas, which include school. Okay, that I missed this one. It's just right here. So for understanding, we are on the same page. The definition of the STEM is just right there. It's a teaching and learning approach which emphasizes the connections among or the integration of knowledge and skills in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics to address problems facing our communities, as well as larger global issues that require a skilled workforce and knowledgeable citizens who can apply the skills and knowledge to develop solutions. This is our definition. So when talking about STEM education, we refer to this, right? Next one, please. We may have to get back to the diagram. The pink diagram is that. The previous one before this. I'm sorry for this. Okay, so you can see the whole picture, right? The goals, initiatives, the way we work, and the collaboration among us. We would like all centers, all countries to be one in STEM education, not just only us or Thailand, things like that. So next one, please, and skip the definition, right? Next one, please. Yeah, the first initiative. No, it's go back one screen. Yes, CMO STEM. No, it's quite quickly. We have to start with STEM competent school. Yeah. Please go down. Yes. No. Okay. Exactly. Competent school. Thank you. Right. So when we talk about STEM competent school, many ask about why not the standard for these schools. So we try to think about this and come up with the solution that, okay, we have different contexts in each country. So why we have to use the standard for this? Just use this framework. So the framework will provide you with the student, with the proficiencies, required knowledge, skills, value, ethics, and attitudes. So it could be a gauge for the student. How can we go far? How can we develop them and prepare students for global citizenship, digital economy, demanding workplace? And that will build capacity for CMO countries network to support the implementation of STEM competence school. This is what we mean. So in the next 5 years, we target at least 100 competence schools in Southeast Asia country. With this definition. Next one, please. This one is quite new for us, because across the country, we have vocational school, they have a middle level workforce, and but in Thailand is quite different, and also in many countries that the proportion of those in basic education and vocational education is quite different. For us, during the past 2 or 3 years, it's just about 60 to 40. And how can we live this to 50-50, or how can we have the student earn their living with the middle workforce, and then they can continue anytime they want? This is our concept, right? So the career academies, we need the partnerships from both government, from the private enterprise, from university, forever to develop career academies in secondary or vocational school. So we selected 4 careers: healthcare and wellness, because we think that the aging society is coming, and serious lack of personnel in this area as well. In many countries, the lack of this. We also need chefs to help prepare nutritious and delicious food for aging and small children, right? So important. The aging might not happy with the food offered in the nursing home or in the hospital, or even the student, the school plan of lunch of the student is, I don't think that it's nutritious enough for the student, even with the COVID, right? And many families depend on the school program of food, things like that. So I think that we need to integrate all career into one. I guess that we should have the premium caregiver, like they can use application in technology, they can use English in their career, they can prepare food, they can do anything fun with the aging, some things like that. So we partner with the hospital, with the university to design the program and the course for the student to do this, and internship during the way down in, I would say that upper secondary school, because the student in Thailand also with the age of 18 plus could legally work. If they are early than that, it's not. So, and the trend now that the students, they might not want to go further to university. And if they could see their passion, once they do it, they can continue anytime. So I think that the university also try to offer non-degree education and could be accumulate to a degree of some type that they want in maybe quite long, 7 to 10 years, some things like that. And also for the ICT, you agree with us, with the changing world with technology, we need people, in the middle level to work out in ICT. They could be the programmer, they could be web developer, and they could be a software engineer, the junior one, right? But in doing this, I found that many family can support their kids with equipment, But for those quite young and quite poor, they could not. They have no facility to practice anything at home. They have to rely on those in the laboratory. So we try to work out with Chevron to provide a scholarship for the student. And in the first phase, we're looking at the BTech curriculum of Pearson. Why we have BTech curriculum? We just have faculties from many universities in this area to select the one that support student, maybe 3 months or 6 months or something. But once they pass this, they have certificate to work any place in the world. It's quite a international certificate. So we try with this. But at the same time, in vocational school, they offer this kind of level also, but with their own curriculum. And for the smart agriculture, we think that many of us are farmers, maybe 40% or 50% in the country. And how does sibling do this? So we try with students in the northern part and see if they can complement the work in the farms with sensors, with drones, with anything, technology, and they can provide more crops. Or I think that is more than they can do with normal ways that they work, and they can help their parents to do the job. So we partner with Kasetsart University, for example, in Thailand, that they have a program for this, and they develop many short course. So we link this to the student, and we try with in Thailand, there are many schools in the city, in the remote area, that they have many area, wide area, that could be do some things beneficial to them and to the community. And also we talk about profession, teaching profession. When we try to look at how they provide teaching or learning in schools, we just found that because the students are very weak at reading, language and mathematics, particularly in the primary level. So that basic concept in SMT is a must, and until that, they could integrate those, the way they teach or something. So we think that they still need help, because we can say that the student is weak, but we have to say that the teachers are not good enough to teach them, things like that. So our program is just like to design the program for primary teachers, right? For science and mathematics teachers, like a STEM teaching or early childhood, that we should have them, because the very young children, it is benefit to start with them first, not just wait until they are in the secondary. And we try to do a lot of treatments into school, but quite young, we could have them change and creating a passion of their learning, funds of learn or some things like that, right? Next one, please. So along with those two things, we have also developed learning resources for them, because most of poor schools, I think that they need, resources to use in their classroom. So we partner with university within and outside to mobilize the resources to them. So what we do with the Thai school is to try to do some research, try to find a model, try to find the effective of the resources, and then we will regionalize to our friends, in other countries in CMO. That's what we're going to do, right? And also, next one will be next one, please, from the learning resource. So we have a STEM Professional Academy. So in doing and dealing with quality of students or schools, we need to do capacity building seriously from the school's principal, from teachers, from trainers, from school supervisors, or many kind of things that involve with teaching and learning at school level. We link university to do this. So we have Academy to provide the courses, innovation course or everything that we already tried that it works in actual classroom, and then we will regionalize to this, and with technology at the present, we can offer online trainings effectively to our group, or even do a small group discussion or workshop or camps or everything that we can do, right? So we have CMO STEM Professional Academy as the serious platform for us. We select to our expert to work with us, and also with the tools, with the platform we can use. Next one, please. These are the resource person in our professional academies, so they can offer the courses, design this, and try with schools. So this is some of them. We should have them to help, right? And also, next one, please. So this is the last thing, but I think that is the most important things: evidence-based policy advocacy, using what works in STEM education. So usually we do research, but whoever will use it, we don't care for that. So now we will have to develop like a standard for the research, in order that once we have the result, I mean the effect size of the results of those that we try, we could see that we just start, and we would like to do two things: do our own research with the regional countries, and synthesize available research in STEM education. It's incredible that we couldn't find STEM education research that could be the exemplar things for others to do this by not reinventing the wheel, some things like that. So we think that in doing research of high quality and build collaboration with national and regional researchers to undertake research study on important topics, and present the research finding with the policy maker. And recently, we have scholarship and also funding supported from the Chevron program in Thailand. Also, we have just run, in March and in April, the research workshop, right? And we recruit and ask from every countries in the region who would like to do research with us, right? So I use a connection from our governing board that representing each country, and to recruit these people. There are around 200 or 300 of them joining the workshop, and they propose to work with us in the following research, right? Professional learning communities in STEM education. How can we integrate this into our teaching and learning? Professional development and learning models in STEM education that we are developing, and we have to see the result of it as also. STEM competence school, we are going to do the framework starting from the UNESCO framework that they also, compile all the information and experiment elsewhere, and the secretariat of it, CEO secretariat, would like and cheer us to do this for our region. And the leadership STEM education approach, effectiveness of career academies model that I just share with you a moment, and encouraging innovation and technology for STEM education. This is the topics of the research, the possible research that they agree to work on is. But who would like to do which is depend on them. They could form their team and work with us. We will have a research team consisting of people, researchers of all countries in the region to help, run this work. How can we get the best evidence-based research for the policymaker to follow, things like that. And following to the workshop, we also have like back to the Congress. Just that we would like to do this roundtable. The first topic that we have done is teacher education. So many countries are faced with problems, but with their different contexts. How can we solve this? How can we suggest to our policy makers, to the country, what can we do with this evidence, not just to talk to them. You used to do this from theory to practice, but this is what we have already. So we do some things like that. So this is all of the our mission and the work that we would like to collaborate with all of you of the center. Next screen, please. It could be the last one, I think. This is a research team that we have, a policy researcher and advocacy expert to help in this category as well. So researchers in all countries would be built capacity to be stronger. I mean, strengthen their capacity through doing research team, doing with them. So we think that not just the research things, but we should have researcher also that we need, and it could be the persons of the countries who can also work the same way that we are doing. Next one, please. So the purpose of my presentation, Dr. Low, I would like to see collaborations. I try to share with you what we are doing, even in a year and a half, I think. But there are a lot to work out on together. Like I see that the math proficiencies of young students, we should have attacked that, or resource person for STEM Ed initiatives. So who can do this with us? So I think we welcome, right, to offer this to our teachers elsewhere in the region. And also the mobilizing STEM learning resources suitable for regional context. So you can choose. So this is what we would like to ask for help and ask for collaboration. So whenever, but the way we work out through the Ministry of Education, through our governing board, and through the private institution in the region who can support you also. For example, with Rexam, I used to work with Kun Suhaida last time and Kun Gillian. Yeah, we work out on learning activities in STEM. It's almost through, and we are continuing following the elevation of the COVID, right? We can do the jobs. This is just example, and we do like learning activities designed digitally. As the Innotech and us and Goethe Institute recruit teachers in the region and then develop the learning activities in STEM and up online that anyone would like to try in their context as well. This is what we're doing. So there's a lot that we can do together. That's that. This is what I can share for the moment. Thank you.
The Pompan for the sharing. There's so many things that we can do in this region for STEM education. Now we have some moment for question and answer. If any one of you have questions, you can just on your mic to ask Dr. Pompan. Maybe I'll just ask just now, Dr. Pompan ended her presentation by seeking collaboration for those who are interested to do research of STEM education. So Dr. Pompan, so if those who are interested to work and to involve in the regional STEM education research in the STEM Samuel STEM Act. What can we do? How can we get involved in this collaboration?
Okay. First of all, just write to us, to me, right? We have at the moment from those workshops, I mean the training workshop and advocacy roundtable to events in March and April. I think that we could have more, and then just give us your biodata, your interest, or anything that we will try to match these with your interest. Which area would you like to work? We will do this through the CMO steering committee of research. Yeah, we will recruit this so that those it represent each country could tell us, could help us to search for those people to work, right? Just write to us, right?
Okay, so if write to Samuel Ed, meaning that we can contact you through the contact in the Samuel STEM Ed website, is it?
Well, by my email. You also have my email.
Yes.
Or you could write through the email on the website. Either way, yeah, we can connect. Or even through the CMO Secretariat office, which is right behind us, beside us, just 200 meters away.
Okay, that is good information for those who are interested to do research, regional research about STEM education, and to work together with Samuel STEM Ed in research in STEM education. You can write email to Samuel STEM Ed, contact them through their website, and write to them your interest, your area of research, so that Samuel STEM Ed can connect you and also suggest which area that can collaborate together. Yeah,
Yes,
so that's a good opportunity for us to do research together and provide research-based evidence for policymakers. Yeah, and especially for all the initiatives that is coming up, such as the STEM competent school, all the STEM career academies. I think they need a lot of these findings to support the policies. Yeah. Is there any more question from the participants? You can type your question from the YouTube comment. Is there any questions? Otherwise, if you have question, you can continue to ask after the third session. Now we can move on to the third session. Then after the third session, we have a 15 minutes question and answer. Then you can post any questions that you would like to ask our panelists. Okay, so we just move on first with our next session. Yeah, our next session, we will have Mr. Ramesh Pillai. Yeah, Mr. Ramesh, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear?
Yes, okay. Mr. Ramesh Pillai is an architect by profession and has also been trained in intellectual property rights in the Japan Institute of Patent Attorneys. He's currently engaged in promoting STEM education through the initiatives of the Malaysian Ministry of Education and Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. He, with other STEM enthusiasts, founded the STEM for All Makerspace, a community-based STEM education center located in Daman Mall, USJ Subang, Malaysia. He plays an active role in enhancing STEM education initiatives and engaging with the relevant stakeholders by spreading awareness of STEM education through the facilities and programs at the STEM for All Makerspace. In fact, I attended a similar STEM Makerspace workshop 2 years ago. And that workshop actually inspired me to start my own Makerspace at home. So this afternoon, let us hear from Mr. Ramesh, who will explain the concept of STEM Makerspace and also some of his the initiatives and collaboration in promoting STEM education in the community. Over to you, Mr. Ramesh.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Low, and thanks for this wonderful opportunity for us to share. Is my audio okay? Is it clear? Okay, we lost your voice. We couldn't hear you. Your audio is lost. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. Now I
Yeah.
got back. All right. Good. So let me start sharing my slide presentations. I hope I can get it up well. All right. Just give me a few minutes. Take you through some presentation materials that I've prepared and share it. Okay. Is it visible?
Can you? But not in
Okay,
the
I'm trying to-
presentation view.
Okay, I'm going to the presentation view now. Is it okay now?
No, it's still in the
No.
normal view.
Okay, just give me a moment. Let me try it again. All right. Just give me a minute, yeah?
Okay.
Just in case. It's the key.
While you are with us, if you have any question, you can just type in the chat box. Even during the talk, you just can type in. We'll try to accumulate and answer during the question and answer session. Feel free to type your question, yeah? Okay. We can see your slides, Mr. Ramesh. We can't hear you, Mr. Ramesh.
No voice.
All right, now you can hear me.
I can hear you. Can you share again?
Yeah, sure. It's gone. It is now. It has gone back to minimized. I seem to have so much of a difficulty.
Never mind. You can share from this minimized form also. It's
Let
okay.
me try and see. It's too small. You can't see. Let me see. Just give me a minute. Jivan.
Okay. While Mr. Ramesh is getting help from his team. Okay, so it is a good opportunity for us just to think about in our own context, STEM Makerspace, and what we can do in our own context in regards to STEM education. Yeah, just now there's so many initiatives that has been shared by Dr. Ponpan about the scenario of STEM education in Southeast Asia. Yeah, so if you are a researcher or teacher who are interested to do research, you just can feel free to contact STEM, Semio STEM or in Bangkok through the website. Yeah, you can actually contact Dr. Ponpan.
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
It is.
Okay, so for those who are teaching in secondary school and primary school, you can actually learn more about STEM Makerspace and how we can apply in our schools. Okay, so Mr. Ramesh?
Yes.
Yes, we can actually hear you. Yes, we can actually.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'll go ahead and
Yes.
share my slides. Yeah.
Yeah, we can see it from here.
Okay. Is it clear now?
Yes, very clear.
Okay. All right. Okay. So what I'll okay. This is my second slide. Is it moving to the second slide?
Yes.
Okay, great. So sorry, apologies for the technical delays. Right. All right. So what I'll do is I'll quickly share about our journey. Right, because I come from the Malaysian Association of Creativity and Innovation, and over the years we have decided that we have to move into STEM education from promoting creativity and innovation. I'll also touch about the collaborations that we have established and the events that we have done prior to the establishment of our STEM for All Makerspace. And finally, I'll just touch a little bit about moving forward and how we can collaborate, as was also mentioned by Dr. Ponpon, right? So this is basically what I'm going to present. The journey begins with our Malaysian Association of Creativity and Innovation, which was established in 2007. And it was mainly to promote creativity and innovation among all strata of the society, from school students to teachers to public. So we have been doing this since 2007. And we did a lot of grassroots innovation. We did a lot of talks, exhibitions, competitions. That's really to bring out the best ideas within the creative minds of kids. That's where my training in intellectual property rights also comes very handy, because we are able to advise them on how one can go about protecting their innovation, through patents, through copyrights, through designs, and the whole works. So that's what we used to do. Then what happened was in 2016, we did a forum on the STEM, all right? And this was done together with the Academy of Science. This person here, her name is Puan Hazami, and she's the CEO of the Academy of Science Malaysia. And this was the first time that we did a program to bring awareness about the importance of STEM education. And the information that she shared with us was inspiring. At the same time, it is also very worrying, in the sense that there were a lot of things that we have not achieved in science and technology. Okay, i.e., she presented to us the statistics, the PISA studies, to show that Malaysia was actually falling behind in every area in STEM. All right, so this was back in 2019. So we decided that we work very closely with the Ministry of Science and also the Ministry of Education. And so they gave us this was presented to us, and I was very inspired by this, all right, the benefit of STEM education. So we could see that, there's 5 key benefits, all right? It talks about allowing students to find solutions, allowing students to go into higher order thinking skills, allowing students to be innovative, to build confidence, and also to work collaboratively. So of all the many slides that we've seen, we thought this is very relevant, because this also encompasses creativity and innovation, right? So back in 2019, then we decided Macri should also embark on promoting STEM education, because of the issues, the concerns raised by the various agencies, and also because we feel that there is so much to be done in this area. Right? So that was basically our journey, in the first few years. Means in 2016, we embarked on our promoting STEM education. Right. So moving on to the next slide, next main area was that the collaboration with our STEM content providers. All right. So when we say content providers, these are the people, the individuals, the teachers, the lecturers, and also those who conduct programs like coding, robotics, 3D design. So there are lots of individuals as well as small companies. So we decided that we have to bring them together. So we started with a few first, like Science Bridge, Kid Station. These are friends of us, and we find that they got very wonderful programs. So we just started off with about 5, and over the few years, we have grown to over 50. So we call them our STEM content providers. Now, so if you go through the list here, you'll have got, you name it, you have it. Even besides coding and robotics, we even have got things to do with 3D printing. We also have got drones, life sciences. So wonderful range of contents that we have, right? So once we brought them together, we got invitations to do programs. Like, for example, one of the first program in November 10th, by the way, I think most of you may be aware, is World Science Day. So we got invited, or I think we approached the National Library or the State Library in Shah Alam, and we told them, let's celebrate World Science Day. And the library was very, very excited with the idea of bringing STEM-related programs, not just academics, but all hands-on. So we brought about nearly 20 of our STEM partners, and we did a wonderful exhibition at the library. And that was one of the very first events. Subsequently, we got invited to places like malls. Okay, so we did STEM fairs within the malls. Like this was in Jaya 1, quite a medium-sized mall in Petaling Jaya, and we did a science fair there. We got another invitation to another one in Jalan Ampang. This is called the Link, right? And we did another one. So here the theme was on drones. Okay, we brought in micro drones, drone soccer, flight simulation. So you see a whole list of programs that are very, very exciting for kids. In fact, not only kids, teachers, parents, they're very excited to see this kind of a program. Dr. Low, how am I doing? Is it okay? Is the audio still on?
Yes, very, very, very clear here.
Okay, great. Just in case I get lost, so I'm just stopping to be reminded that I'm on track. Good. All right. Then we also got invited to another mall. This is Wangsa Walk somewhere in Wangsa Maju, right? And it's quite an interesting mall. And they said they also, because now you see, by now the word have gone around that we can actually bring very exciting programs, STEM activities to the mall, right? So this was done, and this was in 2019. Then came our lucky break, right? So this was the biggest event since we have done in all the malls. This mall is called Daman in Subang Jaya, right? So this mall is is quite a medium-sized mall, and they wanted to host this National Science Week, which we had been working very closely with the Ministry of Science, and so we hosted it. Now it was fairly successful, partly because it was funded by the Ministry of Science. So we had some fundings, and we invited more of our STEM partners, right? So if you see in this slide, for example, here you have got the lead organization here is the Young Scientist Network and University Malaya, which is actually part of the Academy of Science. So they came on board. And then here you have got STEM Toys, engineering-based educational program. Here, this slide and this particular content is provided by an individual architect, and she did this thing, creating architectural designs. And then we had another organization called ChemCaper with chemistry-based program. So all in together, we had over 50 programs, and the outcome was fabulous. So the mall was very, very excited because there were lots of kids, lots of parents over the weekend. In fact, we started on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it was full of activities. We took up 3 floors, right? And this was very much partly managed by my partner, William. William Elvis, if you can see, maybe his picture is here. He's not too very clear. Now he is a very good event organizer. So he brought his own resources, and we brought in all our STEM partners, and we did this was the biggest event so far. Right. So what happened then that, so my topic is on community. Therefore, you see, this is very much a community program, right? Because the mall brands itself as a community mall. Right. So what has happened was, since then they found that this is a very good attraction to bring in the communities, of course, not only to shop, but also to engage in educational programs. And so they said, come, they'll give us some space. And that's how it came about, the establishment of a STEM for all makerspace. Right. So the journey from promoting creativity and innovation, and then getting more of those who are very passionate about education in STEM came about. So we had about over 50 of them. And then finally, the establishment of a permanent space. So far, we have been very nomadic. We didn't have a permanent space. So whenever there is an invitation, then we invite, and then we organize and we move them to a particular location, or a mall or a schools. Even schools have done, and we have gone. And then Diamond Mall decided that they want to offer us a space. So we decided that we'll take it up. I mean, after much deliberation. Now, of course, we are non-commercial, so we do not have like a capital to start up, because it takes a lot of money to renovate, to buy the equipment, and we did not have all that means. So in any case, we had a very special arrangement with Diamond, whereby we do not operate as a tenant. Tenant means you have to pay rent and all that. So we got a different business model, right? So that was able to make us sustain financially, right? So when we established the center, then we decided that the center should serve as STEM educational community hub. That's number one, right? And it should be experiential learning, right? Because in school, you already have got all the academics, and has been presented by Dr. Susan and also Dr. Ponpon. We have got exciting program. So ours will be a community kind of arrangement. All right. So they come, they experience the learning of STEM through projects, which I will then show you in some of my slides. All right. And also we cater for schools and communities. Communities means other NGOs. One of the organizations that we work very closely is called the Teachers and Parents Association, PTAs, right? So they've got quite a number of teachers and parents association who are very, very active. So we invite them to come on board and do programs. Right? So this is basically the objective. So of course, we would like to inspire children of all ages, accelerate STEM education. We also collaborate. One of our objectives is to collaborate with one of the main stakeholder in STEM education, which is the National STEM Center under the auspices of our Ministry of Education. So through this center, Pusat STEM Negara, we have done lots of programs, and we've invited a lot of schools to our center, right? And then we also collaborate with industry, which I'll also show you in some of my slides. And most importantly, we serve as a STEM community hub within a mall. Right, so that's where the community engagement happens. Okay, in my next slide, I'll show you. Well, this is our physical center, where we actually have got about 6,000 square feet of space for programs. These are some of the interactive activities, on robotics, and this is a marble run. So you see kids coming and trying to place, a sequence of structures in which then they can roll the marble into a container down here. Very simple. You notice that they're not very expensive, and this is actually fabricated within the makerspace. All right, all this wood pieces. Right. Then the more advanced interactive activities are like, of course, we use a VR goggle, and they can have an immersive learning. Right, so they can actually have lessons. And this person by the name her name is Miss Lai. She's a retired school teacher. Very interesting story. One day she just walked into the center and she says, such a lovely space. And she just retired, and she said she would really like to volunteer herself. She said she's not interested in any money. She doesn't want to give tuition, but she just loved the place so much. So we said, come on board, please. We would like people like you. And she spent a lot of time with us. And, if you notice here, there are notepads here. Well, being a school teacher, she's always, involved in educating. So students here would then use the VR goggle, answer some questions, and then they just write their answers. So she enjoys doing this kind of a thing. And to us, it was so exciting to say this, and she's not afraid of technology, right? Even though she is quite somebody who is retired, but she embraces technology, and she would really like to come and teach kids, at our center. Right. Here we have some of our content providers. So here we have Mr. Samuel, all the way from Penang. He comes from time to time. Of course, now during this MCO, all physical activities have been ceased. So he comes and teach how to use straws to create very exciting mathematical structures, right? And here we have got, you can see the kids so excited because they were, in fact, if you can read, this is called the Storm Rocket. Within half an hour, they are able to create a rocket, and we can launch it by just pneumatics. I mean, just pressure, just stomp on it, and we launch the rockets, and we can do a little racing. So kids as young as 6 and 7 years, are able to do this. So of course, this is the part of the experiential learning, that we try to bring about. Okay, and again, there are more activities. We have got 3D printing. Right, so these are events that we conduct with our STEM partners. Now, this is on the what do you call robotics and codings, whereby the product is called what do you call Sam's Lab. Okay? It's a UK-based product which some of our partners come and then they teach kids to use these products within the center. If you see, all these spaces are all within our center. Now, besides that, we also collaborate with organizations, like in this case, we celebrated World Engineering Day in 2020, and we collaborate with the Institute of Engineers Malaysia, right? They've got a whole vast pool of engineers, and they're very happy to come to bring in their young engineers to also teach children about engineering, right? So this is some of the programs that we've done in conjunction with World Engineering Day. Okay. And here, another organization that we collaborated is the Sustainable Energy Development Authority, SEDA. So they promote sustainable energy. And therefore, we do workshops and we brought kids. This was done just before or during the MCO period. So there was a lot of restrictions. We limited the number of students, but nevertheless, we were able to do some workshops, in collaboration with SEDA. Another collaborating partner, this is an engineering company called Gamuda Engineering. They are big in Malaysia. They do the tunnel, they specialize in tunnel boring. So they decided to also support one of our events. And so you see here, they actually brought their engineers, young engineers, to teach kids about basic engineering principles, using marshmallows and toothpicks to construct a structure and to construct bridges and see how strong it can be. I can tell you the kids were pretty excited. One of the things that we give them is that at the end of it, they receive a certificate. In fact, in another program, we did it with UTM, and then UTM, University Technology Malaysia, certified them as future engineers. So you can see the excitement and how inspired they are, because never would they have dreamt that they were given a certificate by the university to say that you are going to be a future engineer. So in that sense, it's very, very inspiring, motivational, especially when we work with larger organizations which have got a good branding in Malaysia, like in the case of Gamuda Engineering. Okay, my next slides, then we have got many other organizations. This is another example. This company is called IPC Information System, and they decided that they need to engage more girls in STEM education because there is lack of interest, or there is a decline in the number of girls who are actually graduating in STEM related. So they wanted to focus on communication, or telecommunication. So we worked with University Multimedia University Malaysia, and we brought this program. So this was done recently. This was just about a few weeks ago, or sorry, a couple of months in March 24th we did this session. Right. So I will just finally show you what we have at our STEM for All Makerspace. All right, bearing in mind that this is a community center and we operate from a mall which is non-commercial. Now, if it is commercial, our overheads will be very, very high, and we can't afford to pay for a 6,000 square feet space within a mall. So that itself, is a very interesting proposition. The mall recognized that this is very important to promote STEM education among the community. So this is one of the interesting spaces that we have. We call it a makerspace, whereby you can see there's workbenches, all right, and then we have all the tools, and in fact we have got R2D2, which is 3D printed by one of our very talented makers by the name of Daryl. Okay, so Daryl is somebody who can also teach kids to fabricate things using 3D printing. All these that you see are 3D printed with our little machines that we have here. In my next slide, you can see, right, this is the 3D printers that we have. We got about 4 3D printers. We also have got a very small laser cutter, right? So this can then shape things out. So especially if kids or anybody, I'm not just saying kids, parents, teachers would love to do things which are customized, so you can actually design things and have it and what you call send the data to the laser printer, and you have wonderful things printed from the laser, wood and plastics and many other things, right? So and this is the kind of a program, we have one of our facilitator by the name of YC. Sorry, this is Mr. What you call, this is not YC. It's just slipped his mind. His name should be somewhere here. His company is called Mayo Kids, right? And he is very good at creating makers projects. So like, for example, this is called a magnetic spinner. So giving the kids some kind of a circuit board, they have to cut and shape the wood and then create and then assemble and do a little bit of soldering, and then he's able to, within 2 hours, they're able to take back. So they create this and they take back. And as was mentioned by Dr. Susan, you can see the excitement in their faces, because they're just so anxious to show to their parents, look here, I was able to create this. Yeah, and this is another one, a simple motor, right? So this motor is a spinner, right? So it's so fascinating with just a battery and a little magnet and a coil up there, and it can spin for a very, very long time. Okay. So this is the kind of programs that we conduct within our makerspace, right? Besides the makerspace, another very attractive feature in our center is drones, right? So this is another partner, and his name is Dr. Rahmat. He is an aerospace specialist, right? And so he's able to bring about a lot of value in terms of aerospace. And so we organize lots of programs. We got a dedicated drone cage, so safety is paramount, so that whenever we do any programs, we make sure that it is conducted within the space, so that there is minimize any injuries, right? And so we have drone races. We teach kids how to operate. In fact, there's also a workshop that we conduct on how to design and build owned what you call drones. So there's a lot of skill required, a lot of knowledge that they learn, and this all can be done within a day or two, right? So of course, then we can also do competitions, based on drones. And okay, now another feature, and this is the third and most recent feature in our STEM center, is a STEM studio. So now, as we all are aware, we can't do physical activities, so we have to do online activities. So one of the best way to do quality online activities is to have a dedicated studio. So we brought in some experts to help to install all the equipment. We bought some audio and recording devices, and since then we have conducted more than 10 programs, at this studio. Right? This is William. I mentioned he's one of our founding partners of STEM for All Makerspace. His specialization is also in drones. Okay? Now, this is the kind of programs, online programs, So we worked with the MMU and we did a series of talks on career of the future, as mentioned by Dr. Pontun. I also saw that career is one of the very important aspect. How do we keep students and parents and teachers updated? So when we did this program, the response was overwhelming. We had over 10,000 views, from teachers and students following this 4 series of videos. So we did future careers in renewable energy, in engineering, in IoT, and in education. So this is the kind of a thing that we can support by using our studio. And since then, we did many others. Now, this is also, we call it our STEM exploration, which is done through VR. Okay? Then we did a closing ceremony, which is also done virtually, from our studio. And we celebrated World Women's International Day recently because the Institute of Engineers is very keen in doing this event. So we invited them and we hosted it at our center. And this was the most recent one. The National Science Week was also done virtually, right? So what I would like to say is that as a community center, we work very closely with various communities. One is, of course, the school. School, we don't mention them as community. We work with the stakeholders, which is the Ministry of Education, but we also work with other NGOs and the Parent Teachers Association to spread this information. And they're very excited. Normally, when they receive a flyer like this, the first thing that attracts them is, wow, there's plenty of prizes to be won. And second, wow, is that, there's certificates to be earned, because they need the certificates for their co-curriculum points. So we find that the response has been very, very good for all these programs because they're incentivized. And of course, most importantly, they learn something. So we've received a lot of commendation from teachers and parents to say that thanks for this wonderful program because their kids learn so much. Let's see what we have. So this is the outcome, which I'll later share the slides with Dr. Low, if those who want to, have a copy of this and to see if we can collaborate in any way. But what I would like to say is we're very proud of this program because we are able to reach out to lots of students out there, we had 4,221 entries. And, so there's a lot of videos, views for the videos as well. So we're quite pleased with, the response for our National Science Week. Right. So in my next slide, we also do outreach programs. So besides just doing it in our center, we have done this for the Ministry of Science. We go to a particular location, all right, at other malls, besides Daman Mall, we have received another invitation from the Curve. So we have actually gone there, brought our STEM partners, and done a wonderful session, a 10-day program. But of course, due to the COVID last year, it was cut to 5 days. But nevertheless, we were able to stage that kind of a programs, to engage with the community in the Curve. That means this is Mutiara Damansara communities. All right. One other program that we do, this is for the B40 communities. All right. So this is sponsored by the state agency under the Selangor state government. And they felt that they would like to reach out to the B40 who otherwise can't afford to do this kind of a program. So we designed some modules on coding, on 3D printing, and even on drones. And then we offered it to these kids who would normally are not able to afford to pay for any kind of a programs like that. So this is fully sponsored. And we think that this is another model that we can extend, not just to state agencies, but also maybe corporate organizations can sponsor programs for the B40 communities. And finally, I think I would also like to share this wonderful, materials and information shared by Dr. Low. I was very, very inspired. She has actually created a makerspace in a home. And it's very, very wonderful that she's really very passionate and convinced that, this kind of things can help kids to learn more effectively. Yeah? So I was very inspired. I can see this is most likely Dr. Low's son and has engaged in doing so many things with waste materials. A lot of these materials are available online, so we just have to, go to YouTube and look at something for an inspiration. And so there's plenty of things. And I think earlier Dr. Ponpon also shared about a particular website, or sorry, Dr. Susan shared a site that I think I will later explore and see how much programs that we can gain, or do. Like we can maybe make it into a structured program by sharing some of the videos that has been uploaded on that particular site. Okay? So I think that site is called STEMinist, right? It's STEMinist website. It's a wonderful website that we'll have to visit later. All right. So in my final conclusion, I would like to say that as a community center, we have reached out to over 5,000 visitors. We have over 6,000 participants in the program that we have conducted at our center. We had over 5,000 registered parents and teachers who are in our database who are constantly looking for programs, and over 56 STEM affiliates. These are, content providers from the universities as well as individuals, and we have got more than 48 programs available at our center at any one time. Okay? So this is something that I'm really happy to share. And to say that we would really welcome more such programs, and maybe to collaborate with school teachers who are probably following this session, and perhaps even with other organizations. Semio Resem will be a wonderful place to begin with. Maybe we can replicate this with their support. I've got one final slide moving forward. So in my final slide, this is what I would like to suggest. I would like to suggest that moving forward, we could replicate our model, as a community-based STEM center at other malls. As it is, we have received quite a few invitations, but it's beyond us because we are very limited with resources, so we can't. But then if there are more school teachers or other communities, other NGOs who say, look here, we are willing to come on board, then I think the collaboration can take place, So secondly is the school teachers who want to do any programs in their respective schools. We would be very happy to see how we can work together. Thirdly, modules and certifications. This was also highlighted by Dr. Ponpon. She mentioned about the programs that are being conducted for education in STEM. So perhaps if they are structured modules that we can emulate, or if we can actually use, or can collaborate, then we can have a kind of a unified, programs that the outcomes are very much proven. Fourthly, support from the stakeholders, both government and regional agencies. We think that, if we have that support, we can roll out more such programs using the model that we have already created. And finally, the support of corporate organizations. You see, there are many corporate organizations and professional institutions like the Institution of Engineers Malaysia, Institution of Architects, Institution of Physicists. There's so many such organizations, and they're all quite ready. If we approach them, they should be able to give us the support. So the whole idea of accelerating the STEM agenda under the auspices of organizations like Semio and Rexem and others can be easily met, I think, if we were to bring them on board as well. So I think, Dr. Low, with that, I would like to thank you again for this wonderful opportunity. And just to correct, I'm not an architect by profession. I studied architecture, and I decided to go into another field, After studying architecture, I lectured in architecture for about 5 years. And then I moved on to an innovation organization called the Malaysian Invention and Design Society. And then this current organization called the Malaysian Macri, which is the organization that promotes creativity and innovation, was established, and now it's very much STEM for all Makerspace. So I had a very interesting journey from architecture to now to promoting STEM education, and I would really look forward to your input, suggestions for improvement, and how we can work together. So with that, Dr. Low, I will stop my sharing.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ramesh, for the inspiring sharing with so many examples. I think a lot of us are inspired by what he shared. Yeah, so okay, now we open for a time of maybe one or two questions. Anyone who want to ask Mr. Ramesh about STEM Makerspace in the community?
Yes, I got one question. Can I?
Yes, Dr. Ponpan, yes.
Yeah, I think that content provider collected in his presentation is very amazing. And that activities that you have done for kids in Malaysia could be also wider than Malaysia. It could be the CMU countries. We recruit the student to do these things together, even online. We can do that, I think. And then when we have opportunity, we can do in person. But I think that for this moment, we can do things like the online makerspace with you. Also, we have a plan to do like a STEM projects for the student of high schools in 2022, but I haven't got a exact idea or approach to do on that. But actually, I think that we could start and connect with you and then see if we can extend to others and how. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Ponpun. I mean, it's so very enlightening. Your presentation was wonderful, and the fact that if you feel that there are programs that we are doing, can be brought into a similar platform that you are doing, we'll be very pleased. Especially the STEM partners, as you mentioned, that is one of our strength, I believe, because it is not just one individual, but a collection of many different parties, and each of them have got their own program. So that is something that is very exciting, and we're very pleased to see how we can work together in bringing them on board your future programs.
Yeah, I have your email. We
Okay,
can
please.
actually Zoom and talk about this in details, right?
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ramesh. Thank you, Dr. Ponpan. I think this webinar is the beginning of a wonderful collaboration between all of us. Okay, those who are interested, you can contact Mr. Ramesh or even Dr. Ponpan or even Dr. Susan. Dr. Susan, are you with us, Dr. Susan? There's one question that yes, that we didn't manage to answer just now. This question from asking, can you give us some experience on how to encourage slow learner students to join during the projects?
I think I almost answered that because they will be in groups, and hopefully the teacher won't have to tell them, but the child could look at what the other children are doing. And maybe that's something to establish before you try those activities, is to talk about what does collaboration mean in this context, and how do we work together when we're not doing group work, but we're working in a group. So how can we help our peers in our classroom? And the other thing that they can do, the good thing about these is that the children are concentrated on doing their construction, and that leaves the teacher to be able to circulate between the table groups. So they will know which students might struggle, so they just come up close with them and pardon me, and just ask them questions or say, how are you going with that? Do you need any help further? Or what do you think would happen if you did this? And just try to support them that way.
Okay, thank you very much. I think for us teachers,
just share a thought on that, Dr. Low. So some of the observation that we have seen at our center is that kids that may not be very good academically do very well in the programs that we have done. like robotics and all. They may not be very academically inclined, but they're very good when it comes to creating this kind of DIY things. So there's something there to be explored further. Another thing is like those autistic kids, when they're given this kind of a challenges, they're very, very engrossed. Parents used to tell us they can't sit for a minute, but when they're given this task, they're very patient and they are so very excited. So there is something there to be explored. So not necessarily good. I mean, you mentioned about kids which are so it's just the difference of whether they are academically inclined or maybe they're more hands-on.
Yes, I agree with that. When we did the Wigglebots, we took them out to regional West Australia, to very small country towns. A lot of those children aren't very academically inclined because they come from farming families and the focus is on doing the work on the farm and not so much the school work. But those children, they understood, they knew about circuits because they'd been helping Dad fix the tractor and that kind of thing. And the teachers told us they had to bus them in to the location where we were doing this. And the teachers told us that on the bus trip back to their little town, they had disassembled the Wigglebots and had made other robots out of it, off their own back.
So there you go. That's a wonderful example of those who may not be very inclined academically, but they've got other skills and potentials to be explored.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so thank you to all our guest speakers today. So I'm sure all of us did learn something about STEM Makerspace. Okay, we started with a scenario of STEM education in Southeast Asia. Then we zoom into the school and also into the community. Yeah, so we covered a spectrum of this STEM education, in particular STEM Makerspace. So I hope
not to mention STEM at home.
Oh, STEM at home. Okay.
STEM makers at home. That's something that I think we are very proud to see that you have done. Leadership by example, Dr. Loh. I think the fact that you have shown it means that many other parents can actually emulate that as well.
Yeah. Especially when we are doing online learning, then we can actually start this at home, doing this with our kids.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I hope we can translate all this into little action in our own context. Yeah, be it in our home, school, or community setting. So please do fill in the evaluation form posted in the chat box and also in the YouTube comment. Yeah, so we would like to know your feedback and which aspect of the STEM Makerspace would you like to learn more. I believe this webinar is a starting point for us to do greater collaboration. Yeah, like with Makerspace in the community, even with Dr. Susan, Dr. Ponpan, and other researchers as well. So again, for those who are interested, you can contact Mr. Ramesh and also Dr. Ponpan through the Samuel STEM Ed website, and as well as Dr. Susan if you want to know more. Dr. Ramesh and Mr. Ramesh, can you just type your do you mind to type your email in the chat box so that they can access you? Dr. Susan, do you mind to type your email as well? Dr. Susan, Dr. Ponpan, do you mind to type your email so that those participants who are interested to know more, they can actually contact you?
I'm looking at it. Where is it?
The chat. Yes, there's a bubble there at the corner. You can type if you don't mind, type your email so that those who are interested to connect with you, to collaborate, they can actually email you.
How do you get it to everyone?
Oh, you just type enter chat message here at the bottom.
Yeah.
Everyone, just type your message here.
But I can't choose everyone.
Oh, you can choose anyone?
No.
The rest, Mr. Ramesh, can you type your chat?
Yeah. Have you received mine?
Yeah.
How do you send it to everyone, Ramesh?
You just type in and send. Mine is auto. I think probably your setting has moved. Mine automatically says send to everyone.
Oh.
Perhaps there's a setting, your setting.
It's okay, Dr. Susan. I'll type your email for you if you don't mind.
Yes, please type for me also.
Yeah. With that, I would like to hand the time back to Dr. Thiru.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Right. Thank you, Dr. Low, and our distinguished panel. Wow. That was an interesting array of tips and ideas on STEM Makerspace. I'm sure the participants would have enjoyed this webinar session with tremendous benefits. Okay, participants, please be reminded that e-certificates will be awarded only on receipt of completed assessment forms, which may be accessed from the link in the chat box in WebEx and also the comment section in YouTube. And just to add a little bit more, to ensure that you will receive your e-certs, there are a number of steps that you will have to follow. One, please fill in the assessment form. Number two, after filling in the assessment form, click submit. And number three, you will see another link to register for the e-certs. And number four, you will be given until 5 p.m. Malaysian time to respond to the assessment form and also to register for your e-certs. And then, and step number 5, you will be given a link to generate the e-cert within the next 1 hour. Okay. And another word of advice, if you have any problems getting your e-certs, you may email to our secretariat in Penang. Right. Okay, once again, the fraternity of Simeo Rexam Penang would like to thank all our participants, the Simeo Secretariat, the support staff of Simeo Rexam Penang, and the distinguished panel, namely Dr. Ponpan, Dr. Susan, and Mr. Ramesh, for making this event a success. Lastly, till we meet again in another event, another such event, please put on your videos for a group photograph. Okay, can we have a photo session now? Put on your best smiles.
Just turn on your camera so that we can.
And please remove your masks if we have them on. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, done. Okay, all in. Dr. Ponpan is not in the.
I couldn't
Please come in,
find
Dr.
a way
Ponpan.
in. I am still here, but I couldn't get myself
Okay,
in.
okay. Give you a minute.
All right.
We will not leave without you.
Well, I don't know. Where is it? I'm sorry. I couldn't find a way.
At the bottom.
Yeah, I couldn't find it. Yeah. I go into another one. No. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for all. Thank you for your arrangement for everything. And I got my connection. You know, I'm glad to connect it later on. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And be safe and be well. Bye. See you the next time.
Everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
She came now. One more. Okay. Yes. We have Dr. Ponpan online now.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye. Yeah, we can leave, huh?